I'm gonna get mine. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. Don't tell me how you're off and down. When you're smiling in my face, but you play me like a clown. It's your fool, bitch. So just step back. I'm a mad dad when I come down straight. I thought you were my piece, but you play me out. Now I'm mad as hell, and I'm full of doubt. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. I'm back on the scene, it's time to get mean. I'm a lean revolution machine. For what people stay, they sway. For today is good as any day. Y'all feel slightly this, let's resist. Raise your fist and pump like this. Promises all the time. Don't cross the line, and you know it's mine. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll.
Ta-da.
I hope that setting was okay because I didn't hit the stereo button.
It's
I
fine.
don't know how that sounded. Did that sound all right or no?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
Had no echo. Well, it did at the end. Who you want to roll with? Who you want to roll with? Who you want to roll with? Okay, so it did have an echo. I stand corrected by myself, though, so who cares?
I enjoyed the conversation before the song about psychedelics. Your experiences with psychedelics. We never really talked about our experiences with psychedelics on this podcast.
Yeah. Well, some of the, that's even more interesting and easy to believe anything because
you can say anything.
Yeah. Well, other than to me, that first episode, where I thought I had my legs chopped off and everything, I do remember, I thought I went insane. And I thought for all times I made jokes about people for not having full mental capacity. I was a bit of an asshole a lot of times in my life. I thought this is some sort of payback and all. But it was like my clock was talking to me, and it wasn't a talking clock. It just was. It would tell me the time.
Ooh, you went right down that rabbit hole.
Oh, I was coming out of the rabbit hole at this point. Okay. I was having a knock on the door every little while, and I was like, things were going on that I didn't understand. I knew I was in my room, a college dormitory. What I didn't know is my other buddy was running circles around and he kept knocking on the door. But the scheme was there was a door and then a door on each side that was a bump out closet. So, it was like 3 doors. And I'm like, yeah, right. One door I might open, but 3 is a lady or a tiger or something even worse than a tiger. And so finally one time before that, just before he came, we were coming back. I was looking at my clock and it was 10 after 9 every time I looked. And I thought, oh, like time's standing still, you know? And then I'd look at it, but it would go like, boing, 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 10 after 9 and make a little boing, boing sound and 10 after 9. And it would even say it twice, 10 after 9, 10 after 9. And it kept doing that. And then, oh man, my stomach started hurting. I didn't know if I was getting sick or something. And then it went to 11 after 9.
Did you do
And when that-
mushrooms?
What's that?
What did you
No,
do?
no, this was a freaking capsule. Who knows what it was?
Oh, okay.
Probably acid. But it was when it went to 11 after 9, that was it. Wait a minute. Time passed. It'll be 12 after 9 at one point. And after that, well, 13. And I'm going to get better. Oh. And that's when I went and opened the door on the next knock. I got the right knock. I mean, I got off the bed. I surprised him, and he came skidding in like a little scared rat. He ended up in the corner. And, you know, we worked things out then, though. And we went out to throw a Frisbee because it was kind of like could be fun. And then we had a Frisbee. It wasn't a catch. It was a Frisbee throw. And neither one of us remembered the part about catching it. So, like, we're in front of all sorts of people. And he'd throw one, and I'd go, wow, look at this shit. Because Frisbees were new. And then it would land, and I'd trot over and get it, and I'd throw it to him, and he'd watch it go. And it'd go, like, right past his head, and then he'd get it. And so then, you know, we, I realized I liked it in a more controlled setting and learned proper dosage, and it wouldn't get to that. And I didn't like doing it by myself, though. I needed to be around people because when it was just me, it was never just me. And I didn't like that. You got to have an understanding about what that is to know what that means, you know. But it was actually pretty cheap.
It's still that cheap, you know.
Yeah.
But I asked, I thought I was telling my grandson something by telling him how cheap it was, and he said that's how much it still costs. I was like, oh okay,
Okay,
good.
good. Well, I did have some homemade too one time because there was this guy in the dorm. He's a sophomore and he's like a genius. So a guy bet him that he couldn't make lysergic yada 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 diethylmide whatever, and he did.
Diethylamide.
Yeah. So anyway, he won a $50 bet.
Really?
Yeah, but the other guy got what he lost the bet on. He got that. And it was like a couple $100 worth retail, you know. So
Wow.
yeah, like a sucker bet where nobody lost.
Everybody wins.
Hi,
Yeah.
Bear.
It's up there.
Bear.
Why
Yeah,
are you in the dark?
yeah, I'm in my car.
Oh, okay. Is it that dark out already?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Well-
Look at out Jim's door.
On the third, time goes back.
All right.
Oh no.
I know.
Can we stop doing that, please? They don't do it in Arizona. Why do we have to do that here in Jersey?
Because we're on the opposite side. So we
You
kinda-
don't have to do it. Don't set your clock back. Just you
And
know,
it's the
you
only-
know when you got to be there. Just
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
don't do it. I don't do it in my car because I don't know how. You know?
That's how I am. I don't know how to change it.
It's right half the year and it's wrong half the year,
Mhm.
but it gains like half, maybe 45 seconds or so each year. So
Yeah.
now I got to have add 7 in the mix, you know.
Mhm.
Subtract an hour and add 7. What time is it? Yeah.
I do the same thing. I don't know how to change those things. You know what? I know what time it is.
It's not even a workaround, you know. I mean,
No.
look, I know the clock here is 2 minutes fast, and I know the one in my bedroom for me is 12 minutes fast. So why is it that I always seem like I'm up, you know? Wow.
You want the secret? You want the secret?
That
Turn
is
the
the
clock
secret.
off. The clock in your car. Turn your clock in your car off. Turn the radio off, and then you can adjust the clock from there.
Oh, that's too much work.
No, just turn it off, and then hit the clock button, and then it'll adjust.
Really?
Yeah.
But
Oh,
my,
you cross your eyes and do this when you do it too.
That
you
can't
know?
hurt.
Well, you actually got to hold the button, whatever the time button is, or if the AM button or the PM, or even the plus sign, whichever one. If you hold it, it'll start blinking.
Well, apparently I could be out of Wawa and say, "Excuse me, could you set my freaking clock?" And about every other person could. We're exchanging ways here. You know?
That's terrible.
Good way to network.
Another phone there.
By the way, have you seen the new cannabis laws?
Yeah, the bomb's kicking in. This is going to be fun.
I'm excited. Professor Rob is amazing. I've been trying to get him on the show for a long time.
Yeah, I looked up him on a what would be considered a regular podcast. I don't know how that. I say that with, I like our podcast, and I think people like coming on the podcast for a variety of reasons. But yeah, really, this is going to be interesting. And it's like way back. Stockton was like the first. Stockton and Rutgers, but Stockton first, I think, where CMMMJ was asked to speak or do something.
I think you're right. About Stockton. They were the first ones to.
It was.
Yeah.
Wait, this is like 16 years. This is before
they
we
were
had
the
law.
first ones to take a step forward. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we didn't have a. No, this was well before we had law. Yeah, and Rutgers was the other, but Stockton. So. When I listened and heard about it, was like I wanted to be in college now. I was going to be a history teacher only because I liked history. I liked the reality of it.
Is that what you wanted to be, a history teacher?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's history's life. You teach them something about history, send them off prepared.
Lefty, what did you want to be when you grew up? When you grew up, what do you want to be, Lefty?
An astronaut.
Okay. I didn't mean that to come out that way, but you knew what I meant. You said it.
I'm only laughing because, in my head, what I call my editing head, when I'm reading something I've written, something else starts to come out. I always almost like it better. Right when you said that, that's exactly what was popping in my head. It's why I started choking. Because it was like my thought contaminated you. Almost like, where'd that come from? Sorry.
What about you, Bear? What do you want to be when you grow up?
Honestly, I had no clue. I was so good at everything, it could have been whatever.
Oh, okay.
Honestly.
Okay.
No, I still don't know.
You still don't know?
But I know I can do a lot of stuff.
This is like going to sound. Sorry, I went to a yearly dermatologist thing on yesterday, Wednesday. Yeah.
Yesterday.
And it's sort of like everything's good. The thing I had taken off, one and done, it was looking good. And he goes, "Hey, you don't want to like whatever you do, the little freeze gun, that little tiny, Now, anybody else would have actually seriously looked at their face in a mirror by now, right? I'm looking at my face here going, oh, I never did look at my face. Why didn't I at least look and see what it looked like? What's wrong with me?" Hey, does that look like something?
Missed opportunity.
Yeah, really. I mean, it's like a red spot. I get a mirror right there. I'm not gonna look.
So did they freeze off anything or what?
Oh yeah, they started like it was all around here. Close my eyes, and it was funny because I apologize. I'm sorry, this is gonna sting, and I'm thinking about my feet now. 12 years ago, so like, don't make me laugh. It's like putting up that ooh sting, But anyway, I figured, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what helps with that, Jim? Cannabis. A lot of cannabis.
I got it out. I think a replay will show I had the P and pop fully out before you had the C in cannabis. It was close. An audio photo finish. I hear me. I don't know what the fuck's wrong with me. Wait a minute. it could be what's right with me. Yeah.
And what's wrong with us?
That's
Well,
right.
you know, and really, I really liked it. I have my whole life. The quickest little parable. There's two little warring kingdoms back in the day of little Liverpudlians or whatever, and and one snuck over to the other's water supply and poisoned it. And the next day, everybody drank for it. They all went crazy. But the king was drinking wine all day, so he didn't drink from it. So the townspeople got together and say something's wrong with the king. There's something wrong with him. He's different. We got to get rid of the king. But then the king went and drank out of the fountain, unbeknownst to the townspeople. So when they stormed wherever the king was, they rejoiced that he gained his senses because he drank out of the fountain too. So basically,
What story is this?
well, it's sort of like, really, if there was 25 people,
Story by Jim.
25 people and 24 went crazy the same way at the same time, what would the result be? The other one would be the outcast. They'd all be normal because they'd all be the same, Just because the majority might rule, but it doesn't mean it's the sanity part of humanity either.
That's why I just use it in that phrase. Majority rules. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong. Majority rules.
It does, oh yeah, no, that's nature. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I get that.
So is that how we're going to call like this election?
Yeah,
Doesn't mean they're all sane.
I don't focus on that. It's sort of like I don't need to know how wide or deep the cliff is. You can't get off the bus. It's what
Yeah, where
part
are
of
you
the
gonna
cliff is it going to go over?
Where are you going to go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm along for the ride.
Mm-hmm. No, I know. Hey, somebody that was on this show did this big rant before on I walked in the house and I said, let me get on Facebook fast because I know how fast Lefty is with sending me the links. So I jumped on real fast, and somebody had in fact, two people, not just one, two people had like these outrageous things that they decided to plant on my Facebook page. Okay. So one of them I kind of basically told to fuck off. I think I told both of them to fuck off.
Yeah.
But one was a male and one was a female. The female was ranting and raving about that they have no toilet paper because of the strike up here, on the docks. They have no toilet paper. And if we would stop voting for all those motherfucking Democrats.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What?
So I was like, whoa, wait a minute.
They make toilet paper in New Jersey.
I said,
factory in.
I said, we have toilet paper and we also have a dock strike going on here. Okay. Yeah. So take yourself off my page and do not do that again.
Go wipe your butt somewhere else.
Yeah, really. And that's how she ended it too. And I hope you all wipe your ass. I was like, wow.
Look, I guess I gotta say I take a really different tag. It's sort of like if it's something I can't change, I don't get involved.
There's Professor
Rob.
There he
is.
Save us, Rob, from this conversation, please, Professor.
I don't know what kind
of
like
conversation a surprise
you're having,
party.
But it looks like it was fun. What were you talking about?
We were talking about
it was a wandering conversation. We were weaving it all together.
We kind of talked about like everything in pieces.
Gotcha. So I don't know where you want to start, but this last weekend I was just at the National Interdisciplinary Cannabis Symposium. And
tell us about that.
And there were definitely a couple interesting topics that they brought up that I think we're going to be hearing more about in the next couple months. So one of the big ones is they had a big presentation on oral fluids. So now as part of the sobriety tests, in addition to things, they have the blood test, urine test, etc., that an oral fluid test, a spit test basically, is being piloted in close to 20 different states. New Jersey's not one of them. And there are some of them that are really using it pretty heavily. But basically what happens is someone conducts the DRE test, which is the classic 12 steps. They walk up to the door, knock on the window, have you talk, put the flashlight in your eyes, see if your pupils dilate, have you do the agility test, the touch the nose, foot to foot, all those good things. And then at the same time, if they've taken an oral sample, they have two of those One they keep for the lab later on. One gets tested in a roadside kit, and you get results back in 20, 30 minutes. And it's not admissible in court, but they feel like for the DREs, it kind of helps them decide whether they were on the right track. So I'm thinking, I do think Sue might be impaired. And then I also get this oral test that says, yes, she has had cannabis within, but the window was big. So the window, depending on which graph you're looking at, was up to 10 hours. So that's active consumption. So it can tell, and I guess it tests what coated your mouth. So anyway, the oral fluid test will probably be coming to New Jersey at some point.
Well, that's interesting.
No,
So
not in a good way.
no, definitely not in a good way. So the police, whoever pulls you over, they administer this test.
Yes.
Okay, so there's got to be some kind of regulation by law that they're not allowed to do that.
Well, it is optional. The person has to opt into letting them do the test, and then also
but that's like saying I'm drunk. If you're driving drunk, right?
yeah,
They give you the option to say,
yes, yeah.
So
And then the other thing is
it's
too,
like that.
and so far it's not admissible in court either.
Well, that's good.
And so that's one of the one of the kickers as well. But all I'm saying is that 20 states in the country are trying it now. So at some point it might be coming to New Jersey.
Rob, did you see the test? Have you seen it?
I saw their little portable kit and what
Yeah.
they tested in, and it looked like just a little plastic vial. It was basically, it looked very similar to the COVID kits that we used when we swabbed our noses.
Oh, those fake.
The little plastic thing, yeah.
Yeah.
And you just have to collect a certain amount of fluid in each one, and then that's considered your oral test. But they said that.
But we all know the government never gives anything away for free, right?
Oh, believe me, they are. This company's making a lot of money. It's actually Abbott. Abbott Labs is one of the ones that has one of the better testing. There's another company that has one too, but Abbott is getting the market share at the moment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. So tell us what else you saw.
Let's see. Of course, the other thing they said was that blood tests and urine tests are worthless. Blood tests only tell you kind of a historical presence of cannabis, and of course, if you're a daily user, your rate when you're not consuming at all is going to be higher than someone who's a brand new user. So it's something that we've heard for a long time, and the big part is trying to set what the limits are and what people think are impaired, and then also to try to take into account any type of daily use, differences in tolerance, all that stuff. So that was a lot of the same things that I've heard for a long time. So basically, not making much headway in figuring out impairment. Keep trying different tests. Oral fluid tests at least tell you if it's been within a certain window, which is better than some things, like a hair test, for example. But a long way to go to figure out active impairment, and then also, again, different tolerances. I don't know if we'll ever be able to figure it out.
Well, they need a focus group of some sort, especially with people who have many years experience and have some sort of, I mean, imagine a blind test where one had no idea and was just here, examine these people like with a field sobriety test, I suppose. But then, I mean, I've never been part of a focus group, but I would enjoy that.
Would you like to do that, Jim?
Yeah, well, I know, right now the law for being a patient is, if you're in your car on the road, you pull over, you stop, take the key, turn it off, take the keys out, put them wherever. And then, you use your medicine however you do. And when you feel you're good to drive, you drive. That's where we are. And this, what's going to be our nirvana in a couple of years looking back, no doubt. But I would guess I should never get stopped. I mean, I don't smoke a lot when I smoke often, occasionally, but I smoke a little often to maintain sort of a really low floor, so to speak, for the reasons that I use it medically, my feet and all. But I just think, I've wondered when this day would start coming. You know, for a couple of decades, sort of like you can't really tell.
Rob,
You
I
know,
wake up in the morning with 10 to 12 nanograms in my blood. So
Yeah.
getting up in the morning and driving, I'd be breaking the law.
Yes,
And
guess
some
what?
of these tests are, these
Yeah.
tests are not accurate either. Some of them.
Yeah, no, totally. That actually was exactly what the research showed, that most people who are daily users were at about that 10 nanogram limit, and then that people who had started when they were very impaired in their own admission, they were up at about 10 milligrams. So it was very interesting. Two people at the same levels, but very different effects.
Yeah, right. Because we all react differently. You know,
Yeah.
so it's not like an alcohol or even pharmaceutical drugs. We are all reacting differently.
There were a couple other pretty eye-opening stats too. Here's one with cannabis and alcohol. So back in 1992, 10 times as many people used alcohol daily versus cannabis. Fast forward to 2022, and it was pretty close, but you had a few more cannabis daily users than alcohol daily users. So what a huge shift in not a huge amount of time. So can you imagine that? 1992, 10 times as many, and then 2022, even.
Wow.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
that's quick.
Yeah, so
I mean,
I was pretty blown away by that, and I can't wait to see what the trends will be going forward. I mean, I think it'll become who knows? Maybe it'll flip at some point. We'll see how long that takes.
Is there people using both? Is there a crossover of
Yes.
people using both? Yeah.
They guess what? Peanut butter jelly. They like each other. People who like alcohol also like cannabis, and vice versa. So there's a pretty good correlation. It's like
both.
Like an 80 to 100. Yeah, they like both.
I'm not sure where I fit in. It's not so much. I do like have when I say a couple of beers, that's kind of the upper limit, except the third one on the Sunday family gathering. But that's just traditional. I mean, it's like really in the house that I grew up in, with a couple of brothers and stepdad, and so that that's kind of like. Of course, over the course of doing that, it went from hiding it to having things right on the dining room table at dinner. Just have a ceremonial water bottle because it's very icy and cool. It's just like it's really like what other people get, I think, out of church. And I'm not making a direct comparison. I'm just saying, look forward. It's the day off, and at family, we don't discuss politics or religion, even though we could, because we'll do it the rest of the week all we want. But that's a day for just.
So Jim, I think you're a little bit of a future predictor. What's interesting at the NICS is they also talked about sacramental use of cannabis, and this is the first time at a big symposium or conference or whatever you want to call it that I've been at that they've talked about that. And one of the panelists was Cheryl Murray Powell, who is an attorney in New York City who works with a lot of social equity applicants, but she's also Rastafarian, so she talked about that. And then there's a church in Colorado, one in California, one in Washington, I believe, and they've all been successful on petitioning to use cannabis as a sacrament. So even the fact that people are talking about that, I mean, like you, I've been kind of hanging around this industry for quite a while. This is one of the first times when I've heard people talk about it as a sacrament, and I think it's kind of an interesting avenue that we're going to hear more about, especially with magic mushrooms kind of making the entrance as well. I think we're just going to hear more about sacramental use of healing herbs, I will say.
The one issue that the indigenous communities have with us using their sacred medicine, because it is their sacred medicine, is that we don't treat it as such, because we look at it in such a recreational way, and that's not what they do. They have a sole purpose. They pray with it. They have their ceremonies. It's really, really something that's actually very beautiful. When they do their ceremonies, and I have a couple of friends that are Navajo, what they do is they all sit in a circle, and they don't nobody speaks but the shaman, and they sit there and they can't move. They're not supposed to move for, like, I'm talking like 12 hours or so. And then the shaman picks out someone in the circle, and that would be, the chosen person, to take on whatever it is that he needs to pass on to them. um and then there are other retreats where they get very, very anxious about, the whole thing with having any of us that are not within their tribes to be there. They don't want us there.
Yeah.
And that's understandable. I think
I
I
get that, sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm one of those that I never used cannabis recreational. Okay, I can't say I didn't. Yeah, when I was in college. No, it's not socially. It's just socially. I mean, it's not like I use it and go, man, I feel like playing some golf now. Who wants to come with me? Let's smoke pot, play golf. Which, yes, I would when I play golf, but it's not recreationally, And then, I never liked that saying until medical concerns came along.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure to break social use's gravitational pull to get a law passed in New Jersey, where you purposely became a subset. And, so I kind of see things differently. I got to say, though, when Rob, when your name was familiar to me, but I had to go look at you on what I call a real podcast, meaning it was very organized, But it was really impressive to me.
Are you saying Lefty's podcast is not organized?
I love this podcast.
Yeah, pretty clearly, I think. But that doesn't.
Did you hear that,
Thing is, we accidentally impart information as more than other people because we don't like. It's not an organized where there might be a pop quiz, But people will remember sometimes what we're saying for the strangest reasons.
Come on,
Stockton
man,
was I think.
Man, come on.
We're talking with Sue before. It was either Rutgers or Stockton the first time I got to go to a college to engage students there at somebody's request at that college. My brief connection is, I've been medical concerns in New Jersey since 1993. I walked across the state to get attention because nothing else did. So anyway, I've watched it grow from that, where there was nobody else in New Jersey we knew till 99, me and late wife. And when I first met students for Sensible Drug Policy, speaking at a Northeastern conference they had in Rhode Island in 2003. About like 3 months for Cheryl, my wife, who was the show and tell patient. But I was so impressed with the enthusiasm of students. Now I'm hearing where everything is, and boy, would I have loved to have been in college when I could have had these other classes to go with, something that I could really be good at. I mean, because of my interest.
Yeah.
And it occurs to me that the students I met at that conference, a lot have gone on to do some things. The guy, Tom Angel, that ran it is the Marijuana Moment, which is really a great source for what's going on. And it was, as Tom will say to anybody, it was Cheryl who inspired him to do what he did. He really picked up his efforts because Cheryl could be pretty motivating. But it's that the students now, from everything those students for Sensible Drug Policy did to open the doors, and there's always new students behind them. There's this wave of right at that, how can we help, And to be back at their thing on the 40th anniversary of the war on drugs at Washington. They asked to speak there, and that was like a landmark thing. And now there's all these students with all these amazing choices at Stockton, where it was just a quick little speaking thing. It was very eagerly assimilated. So I just love everything that I heard at that other podcast, and it was I don't know. You seem like just the right guy for the job. You know, it's like it's I don't know about being like a dream job, but you got to be pretty satisfied with where you are right now and the effect you can have on people at that stage of their lives, sort of like getting them off in the right directions. You know, that's got to be pretty rewarding.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, Jim,
it's very cool.
Jim, you were making me so happy hearing that. And yeah, the door is wide open. So we have a minor in cannabis studies at Stockton. We just launched our major about a month ago. So we have a Bachelor of Science in Hemp and Cannabis Business Management. So students take a lot of business courses. They take 8 hemp and cannabis courses, including an internship, some general studies, and they are good to go. And yeah, the students are getting so many jobs, and now they're rising up the ranks quickly. So I have people who are general managers, head of HR, assistant growers. I mean, they're all over the place. And it is funny. Any dispensary I go into, I feel like just walking in and saying, anybody from Stockton in the house? And about 50% of the time, I'll get somebody who will be right there. That was likely in my class too.
Where do you think it's going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now? If you're still involved then, there's going to be people you'll be able to name drop without me. I'm not saying your name, but, you know, it's like, you know, I love the juncture of these two worlds colliding and the right one overwhelming the other one finally, you know.
Yeah.
It's really great to be taking part still at some degree. And but I never really thought about it so clearly as till just before the show. It's like, well, isn't that why everybody goes to college? It's about securing your future vocation. What is it you can do? I mean, you're going in with a specific purpose, finding your way as you go. But I got to say, my life would have been different if I could have had a minor in something to do with cannabis. I did 1 year at NC State in 1970, so it's like so long ago, you know. But
well, in NC State, what a great place to learn about cultivation.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, it's a great place to learn about not getting caught too. You know? Yeah, I can proudly say, after all that time, I've never been arrested, unless I wanted to be 3 times on purpose. But I just danced through that minefield. I have nothing to expunge.
So I have a big question for all of you. So one of the other sessions that we had at this conference was about all the synthetic cannabinoids and about hemp. And I am wondering what you think about, first of all, about just synthetic cannabinoids to start with, and then what New Jersey's trying to do with their legislation. Anybody want to take that one?
Are you talking about like Delta 8 and stuff
like
that?
Not me.
Yeah, Delta 8 being sold at the gas stations and the infused beverages being sold at the liquor store. That legislation.
I know that patients are very upset because some patients really need those products, the CBD, the hemp. They, for whatever reason, they seem to want. I've never tried it. I don't know if it's good or bad, so I can't say. I'd like to try it, but I have never tried it. But some patients swear by it. That's all. I have
to say. I mean, if you go into a dispensary, you find very, very little CBD in there. I mean, you cannot find. Can you even find flour that has 1% CBD on it? I think you'd be hard pressed.
That's here in Jersey, but I just came back from California, and you can find their CBD is in their dispensaries.
Good. Yeah, I'm hoping we can kind of go in that way. But then even aside from flour, you just don't see it in many products. You can maybe find a topical, and maybe the 1906 pills, but that's kind of about it. So I can see why there would be a big medical audience that would go towards the synthetic cannabinoids, and also probably potency. that we do have limits on potency. And for some people who are in severe pain, they are either going to spend a lot of money at a dispensary, or I could see why they might want a synthetic for a higher dose.
Okay, CBD is in a marijuana product. Yes, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
The plant splits in two. One side is THC, one side is CBD. CBD is non-psychoactive. THC is psychoactive.
Yep.
And then we get into the particulars about it. So
Yep.
saying that it's a chemical drug laced in your government distributed weed is an absolute falsehood. Please don't put that on this show.
No. What I'm talking about is production.
No, I'm talking about somebody that just posted something.
Oh, good. Because I'm like, no, I'm talking about the synthetics like THCO, and there's so many of them. There's 26 of them. THC 10. There's just a bunch of them, and that's what the government is trying to regulate, are those 26 synthetics, because there's often not age restrictions, so underage use can happen. Also, a lot of times they're not tested. They might have heavy metals. Potency might not be correct. So that's a lot of it. And then also just trying to protect the what the dispensaries can and cannot do.
This is not true. They invented CBD when Obama came into office. No, they discovered CBD back in the 70s with in Israel.
No, it was earlier than that.
Right?
Raphael Mechoulam discovered CBD, I think, 3 years after THC.
Yeah.
Come on, what are you talking about, Gordon?
It was, and now I didn't know, taking care of somebody with MS, to how important CBD was towards the tonic spasticity, the tightening, not the tremor spasticity that Cheryl had. And it was another patient with MS, Renee Emery Wolf in Michigan, who first time she got me close went CBD to Cheryl and me, how important it was. And I'd never heard of any of this, you know. And CBD, from what I understand, does need a degree of THC to sort of set it off. I mean, 100% CBD, to my knowledge, which is, it's hearsay for anybody.
They did it in France, and they killed some people with synthetic CBD. Killed people in France.
Yeah. Well,
Okay, but we're not talking about synthetic, right? We're talking about real CBD, because there's synthetic THC too.
Hemp, yeah.
Well, having seen the synthetic version of THC, dronabinol, and knowing well the effects of that because of Cheryl's prescription, and like I said, though, oddly enough, that was debilitating for her. I mean, she knew she wasn't making sense when she did that, even if she was looser. And but the weirdness of the state would pay for that pharmaceutical for aged and disabled program, and it was about $22,500 for Cheryl per year for them to pay for. But she wanted the plant, and I would make butter for her because she didn't even smoke. And so we settled on, we allowed PAAD to buy that, and we traded it for bud and made that. It was a roundabout way. I guess PAAD did pay for her, but and then I tried everything, every pill she would do if it was going to have an effect on her, because I wanted to understand. And I didn't even like it. It was like, I don't know, it was like a stupid pill for me. I don't need a pill to be stupid.
So jumping back to CBD for a minute, there are three main types. So you have full spectrum, which means everything that comes with it, all the cannabinoids. There will be traces of THC, all the terpenes, flavonoids, etc. And then you have broad spectrum, and then you have isolate. With isolate, they pull out everything, and it is just the CBD. The only time I would ever suggest to people they might want to take an isolate is if they know they're going to be drug tested, and that their job depends on it. Otherwise, full spectrum is considered better. Broad spectrum, middle, isolate is your third choice. And then I see a question about the oils. And I imagine this person is probably trying to fight inflammation, because if you're using a topical, that's usually what you're trying to do. So the thing that I've heard from physicians is that if you're using CBD, you should heal from the inside out. So you should use some tincture. So you use a couple drops under your tongue, and you'll have to start with a low dose, of course, and then go up over time. But then also then use the topicals too. So if there's something that's bothering you, if it is your knees, your stomach, or whatever, if you take the tincture, the nice part is that CBD oil will go to your will go where you are inflamed. So your body basically tells it, I'm in trouble here in my back, and so it will send the CBD there. That is the amazing part of the tincture. But then, of course, the topical, you can treat whatever pain you're feeling right then and there, and you do rub it into the body, and you'll find that some work better than others. Some use different drivers like eucalyptus oil, menthol oil, emu, all kinds of different stuff. And you just have to find out what kind of oil is going to work best for you. The one thing I will say is that your body is built to keep as many things out as it is to take things in. So the medicine that you're going to get from the topicals is going to kind of vary. So you might have to try several products and talk to your friends who are probably using it and see what they're using. But you'll find what's right for you. But again, heal from the inside out.
And then there's my preferred method is, my brother uses his magical butter machine with coconut oil base and make cookies, but I don't feel like eating cookies hardly ever, and then I feel like I should go brush my teeth or something. There you go. Yes, sir.
Hey.
And anyway,
shout out to Garen Angel.
Yeah. So I for my better half, my better 2/3 actually. She got to maintain that though. When I call her better 2/3, I want to get where I'm going on time. Why did you remind me? You're only my better half. Anyway, I just take it's food grade. I estimate there's a cookie, and I take that, and it doesn't even taste bad. I wash it down with some coffee. Had some before the show, and it's just fine. And I do like to maintain after that with inhalation of some sort as well. But it is also the best balm I've ever found for the. I had catastrophic injury to my feet, and especially the right one, and it takes a lot of care, and it's almost always swollen, and is a sort of a bionic man almost, and still with 2 feet there of my own though. And this stuff works so good that the problem early on was, here, try some of this, and it would be, that works so well. Where can I get some? I get small circle of family and friends then going with that, but it's just that easy and I like the idea from the inside and the out. I'm getting the exact same thing, so I don't know. Maybe my body's getting it all exactly right. It's just so much that I don't know now, where I used to be the one that knew what there was to know decades ago. And I am almost always not the smartest person in the room. I'm usually the one that's really feasting on everybody else's strong suits, trying to assimilate what I can. I like that better.
I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah.
I always like to say that. But Rob, what I wanted to tell you about was, and no one, I've seen some patches. I can't say there's none around, because there are. But I'm going to say about 10 or 15 years ago, a friend of mine had was making product, and what she had developed were these transdermal patches, and they were CBD THC 1-to-1 ratio, and they were awesome. They were fantastic. They really worked well. She gave up the company and what have you, and moved on to other things. But since then, I have come across patches here and there, transdermals, but they're nothing even close to what she was doing. And it was pretty remarkable. And I wish someone in the business would do that again, because I think patches are great.
Yeah, they really are. And I think I've seen either Jane West or Mary's Medicinals in Colorado. I have a lot of
Nature's
family
Nurse
in
is who
Colorado.
made the transdermals. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Mary's Medicinals. You're right. I think she makes them too. But Nature's Nurse had the best ones.
I would love to see that revived. I wonder if there's any. Maybe you should send me your contact information, because people contact me all the time for different opportunities, and that's a unique, needed product. And granted, it is a small part of the market, but an important part of the market, just like suppositories, nasal sprays. They're not going to be the biggest sellers, but for people, if you have a migraine, I can't wait to see a nasal spray here in the New Jersey market for people that have migraines. And
Rob,
suppositories, that's IBS and Crohn's too. But again, not a huge market, but unfortunately, it's always going to be there.
I had a 2-level cervical fusion without opiates, using just cannabis suppositories and edibles and stuff like that. So it was pretty amazing. I was surprised. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, suppositories actually deliver the most medicine of any any form that we know now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I did not think cannabis could copy the opiates, but it did. It did. I used and I had them sitting on my dresser. If I needed the opiates, I could have taken them, but I didn't need to take them. I had edibles, I had tinctures, I had every kind of cannabis available. I had it, and it worked.
So I'm curious, what is Sativa Cross's short-term goal at the moment, and then what do the long-term goals continue to be? And I apologize if you covered this at the beginning of the show or before I jumped in.
That's yours.
Our short-term goal would be home grow, I believe, but we're still, in addition to that, we're still fighting for wheelchair accessibility to police stations and post offices, and I'm still fighting for a talking traffic light for a blind person. So we have a few irons in the fire right now.
Yeah, and don't forget your recent success Zoom meetings, where Zoom meetings were, and town council meetings all during the pandemic, and then when healthy people, could get back in, and it was like normal, they disappeared, and Lefty just had one of his finest hours in Edison. Maybe somebody can pass you a link to that after this is over, because it's some of the finest oratory I've seen with a captive audience that was not there to help, but
I did all the things you're not supposed to do. I pointed at the council, I yelled at them, and as I was leaving,
you had he's El Rampador, by the way.
Yeah, I was leaving.
He rides around with a mask on and scares people.
No, it's one of those like looking like a wrestling sort of man.
Oh yeah, like the Lucha Libre, the Mexican wrestling,
things like that.
That's what it is.
Yeah, but I don't know if you can picture somebody on a scooter with that mask on
a wheelchair.
Wheelchair scootery thing at 49th Avenue, Avenue B and 49th in Bayonne, going around to make sure people stop when you're in the crosswalk. And then, of course, the police will be called, and they all get to know him there. I figured out through Google Earth and the times that he's been there doing that to get a light there, a traffic light. And it seriously works out. I mean, I think it was 88 feet around, 22 feet on the inside part of each crosswalk around this intersection. And then I timed it. It's about 45 seconds for a lap if he's not almost getting run over, if he's just doing the circuit. And how long he'd been there. And it works out. There is a Timbuktu in New Jersey, and it's right at that mileage. So he could have gone in that scooter from Bayonne all the way to Timbuktu. And but on the other hand, he's also, if I may, he won't say nice things about himself too often in public, but he's gotten like joint resolutions from the legislature, and awards for his creative way of opening doors to conversations, which is needed at times, Yeah. And my job for the whole time I've known him is to keep this spinning top from going too far one direction, and He actually pays attention. We were
Lefty has a way of speaking to people, and I really pay attention when I get to hear him talk
Yep.
to someone that I might get pissed off at.
Yep.
And Lefty speaks so eloquently to some of the most obnoxious people that I don't know. He's good. He's good at it.
What kind of pushback do you get for things like access for a human to get to a police station or to any other area? I mean, what do people say as to why there's not that access?
They call the police on us and say we're harassing them. We go to the council meeting.
Why doesn't the city take care of that?
Yeah, we're actually I put a complaint into the Department of Justice last week. I just got to reply back. I have a phone call with the Department of Justice on Monday about the South Amboy police station. So police station without wheelchair access. It's just, I don't get it. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no.
No buttons, no windows. There's nothing. There's nothing there.
Are you seeing any movement on the home grow in New Jersey?
No, I'm not. But it's when there is movement, we wouldn't see it probably anyway. If there was, it's a very behind closed doors things. And like what Sue likes to say is, you got to know what you don't know. And there's a lot we don't know, because when something doesn't add up, and there's a lot that doesn't, it's because we're missing a piece of the equation somewhere. I mean, it won't add up. And but it's the most unique thing that, and what I followed for for 3 decades, that when the patient's greatest champion, the one who got 6 plants in a bill passed in the Senate that he got through the Senate as a senator in 2009, has come around full circle to become Senate president. And when home grow was taken out of the bill that he got passed in the Senate, and the Assembly compromise is gone, how to get patients off the battlefield, we can revisit it later. And this is the quick version. So a bill was written 3 years and 8 months ago for home grow for patients, just for patients, very clear. And he became Senate president and has blocked it from having an informational hearing since he became that. So it's sort of like, what do you do? He doesn't return calls from really anybody. And I'm also co-founder of Coalition for Medical Marijuana, New Jersey. He doesn't return anything from Ken, the CEO of CMMJ, and it's like he doesn't really have to. I mean, we have no teeth, we don't have like a real champion. But then, see, this is where Lefty comes in. It's about getting the door open. Now, in my day, I could just have my wife in front of me in her wheelchair, and she could move her head and shoulders and a little bit of an arm. It told the story right there. We started, a quantum leap ahead of anybody else walking in the door. But now it's like, the weekly monthly podcast at the State House, and it was weekly for 8 months of the year for 3 years when we started 10 years ago. And that was so you could meet people. But now it's gone to the point where in New Jersey, you call someone, what Scutari did, and he told patients in 2009, we can revisit this after we get the program up and running. We can come back and fix this. Yeah. So he's come back to get in the way of it for 3. And I'm cognizant of daily pain that goes on. It's burned. I probably have PTSD of some sort. It was quite a couple of decades ago. And it takes other stuff. So in New Jersey, somebody does that, he's a rat. So Lefty's podcast at the State House has a 10-foot inflatable rat holding a sign. His name is Rattari. We don't want. And the thing is while it's that's nothing but a spectacle. You're damn right, it's a spectacle, but it comes with signs that relate to it. So it's sort of like people read the sign work about Senator Scutari being afraid of the information from an informational hearing, but the head of the health committee wants it heard, all about a specific bill. So it's funny because the advocacy world, I don't even is like split. There's just a lot of people that don't like that because, well, you're going to need Senator Scutari at some point to get anything done. But we're kind of more of the line, listen, we're not important enough for him to piss on us and not do something he would have done otherwise just to get back at us. He does what he does for him. We're of little consequence to him, but he can't like this, but it's not going to be enough to move him. It's going to take small incremental steps, but always doing something different. Because after this long, the one thing that gave Cheryl hope was we always had something left to try. We never ran out. I made sure of it. You always got to have hope. And I think we give patients hope, though, because it's sort of like at the point of being minorly ostracized by more conventional methods that have come on since the big push, what we would call the bandwagon. But the thing is, there's need for a push after this. I mean, at some point, you can't be Neville Chamberlain. You gotta recognize things for what they are. And I don't mean going right up to a major slap. Just gotta keep finding new things and do the best you can. So right now it's Rattari, and we'll be back on the 20 October with Rattari again. I love that little, you could probably, oh, actually, if you look up, you Google search Rattari, New Jersey, it comes up. It's probably a Facebook thing, but.
No way, it does?
Yeah.
I got to check that out. It's funny.
I Google search myself all the time. I credential myself with people like legislators. I just say, listen, it's kind of long, so just do a search, Google search, keywords, Jim Miller, medical marijuana, New Jersey, medical cannabis, New Jersey. More than half of what I did, it was medical marijuana. If you said medical cannabis, oh, you're just trying to make it sound like really official, It's a long time.
That's what it is. It's cannabis.
Well, yeah, I know, but it is. But anyway, and it's funny because I don't know. It's we did that in one episode, wasn't it? And I mentioned you go to look at Cheryl Miller, medical marijuana, and it'll come up. Getting arrested in 1998 in Washington. And it's just kind of funny because I don't look like this in 1998. I had like a lot more hair, and it was brown, and I didn't have a roadmap for a face, Did you know Randolph in Washington, D.C.?
Robert Randolph, who
sued
under compassionate care and grew for his partner who had HIV/AIDS.
Yeah, Robert Randall.
Yeah.
No,
and he personally had glaucoma, so he used for glaucoma, and then he was growing for his partner, and he sued the U.S. government, and actually he was successful.
Yeah.
So he and about 12 or 14, I think, maybe it was a few more.
It got up to about 35, and then the quarters like Irv Rosenfeld, L.V. Musica.
Yeah.
There's like three left.
Irv is the last one. So there were two.
Oh no, LV's still with us. Yeah.
She's in Oregon, and she went adult use, so she got off she doesn't get it from the government.
She doesn't. Yeah, well, that was for show anyway. She had to break that apart, re-roll it up with hash oil, And,
oh yeah, I mean, Irv has sent some photos of the big tin that he gets. So it's 300 joints. So he's the only person in the U.S. that still gets his cannabis monthly, and he saves his tins.
2 years. He saved all his
all his
stems
tins
and seeds.
Oh yeah,
and then put them in that container. I think it was a Patients at a Time conference. I could be wrong.
Yeah, that sounds like.
And I was astounded by how much crap came in it.
Yeah.
we'd filled out the form for that in 1990, unaware that it was no longer taking single patient applications shortly before that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like maybe a year in advance of that. I'm sure I would have been in that program. Yeah, that
strange.
was
Such a strange history.
yeah, it's I do got to say though, and I think Sue would find the same to be true, that I've met some of the nicest people in the world being an advocate at the national level, and also in New Jersey.
Yeah.
But what an eclectic group of people, you know.
that
and they
that is true.
But they can't be herded. You can't herd a bunch. You can't. Hey, I got a good idea, and you know. So you know, it's a double-edged sword, but.
I'll say the other thing that's been great about the cannabis industry, at least for me, is how many people of color and how many other diverse people I've gotten to work with. I mean, I've been in a lot of other businesses, and I've not had this kind of contact at all with such a diverse audience, and I enjoy it tremendously.
It's odd, isn't it, though, that it's that diversity and the being disproportionately affected by the war on drugs, that more in theory than actual tangibly, but that first in line, you know, if you're a person of color, a person disadvantaged by this, if you've had expungements and stuff, you know, front of the line. And I love it. It's sort of like, it should be more like that in New Jersey. You know, apparently social equity didn't apply to 46 out of the first 47 dispensaries that opened in New Jersey, you know.
Yeah, well,
Unless
Jersey,
if there was some social equity in MSOs, you know, we would have done good.
yeah. Well, I mean, part of that is we unfortunately inherited such a flawed medical system that it was run by MSOs, so limited for a population of 9.2 million. I mean, there were 6 of them, and then the fact that when they opened up the market, that they just let them have 3 dispensaries total. So all of a sudden they were 18. They pretty much had another 6 months worth of business where they had no competition. And then the other thing that I hate was even when the independents opened. So I had an independent open pretty close to me. I actually knew the owners. I was so excited to go there because I wanted to vote with my dollars. I was not going to go to an MSO. I was going to wait until I could go to a minority, women-owned, local mom and pop and all that. So I waited. So I go in. What do I see on the shelf? Curaleaf, GTI, Verano, because they were the only ones that were growing at that point. There were no independent growers.
Yeah.
So I thought yet another way for the MSOs to make money. So even the independent is paying them a cut, and from because they're the only ones that can supply product. Otherwise, there's nothing on the shelf. So that happened for. I mean, it's still happening now. It's getting a little better because we're getting suppliers. But I would say probably still about 2/3 of the product in any independent store is still from the MSOs.
Yeah.
And maybe 1/3 from independents if they've hustled and made relationships and all that. So yet more time for them to get further ahead, make more money, which was part of Scutari's argument about home grow.
Yep.
That he was worried people would home grow and it would cut into the businesses that were trying to make a legitimate go of it. Meanwhile, they've had such a runway. They've had that time. They need competition. We need diversity. We need craft. We need home grow. All that stuff. We are behind now.
I would like to ask people, and well, I don't. It's more rhetorically. Does it really surprise you? I mean, if you've been around from New Jersey, you know, I grew up in New Jersey. I am New Jersey, and it's just like that's just how it works here. I think more than a lot of other states. I mean, they're all screwed up in their own way, one way or another, probably. But you know that yeah, it's about getting a piece of the pie, a slice. You know, and everybody's gonna get some. And but I think actually against that backdrop, you know, when I was listening to you on that other podcast, I realized that especially with what you're doing, you're getting the right people towards the industry in the right way. You know, in other words, they're going in with their eyes wide open. They kind of know what the score is, and they're doing it for what I consider majority of them for really the right reasons. You know, it's just who I would want to be that next wave of new blood coming in, and they'll be better equipped to deal with it from whatever its roots are at that point. You know, and maybe they'll be able to have a better fight than we did too. You know.
Yeah, you hope so. I mean, we try to focus on social equity. We try to focus on marginalized communities. Um, try to focus on workforce development. I mean, just keeping in mind trying to build the industry in the right way. But I mean, the hard part is I still have so many students who will start at MSOs, and we do talk about that because sometimes that's where the jobs are. But a lot of them will start there and then definitely will jump to places that have different culture too, which I think is quite interesting. Although a few of them, you see them after a couple months, promotion, and they're just climbing up the chain. But I hope that they will bring a type of culture and more compassion, maybe,
Yeah.
into those
That's what we
industries,
need.
and bring ideas like recycling. So I have a student who went into an organization and they put together a plan in recycling. And it looks like it might come through. So so even something like that is something that they hopefully can affect with a big distributor, and that we can be a little bit more sustainable. So even something like that was kind of positive.
You want to hear how far patients have fallen off the radar? The CRC has no regulations for wheelchair access. So dispensaries all over New Jersey are open up without wheelchair access. And I think that's shocking too. And I've told them about it, and they're just like, so they have disabled vets that can't get into dispensaries.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And especially with everything they require dispensaries to do, and especially with the build outs, it
All the
actually
minutia.
might.
Yeah, it's like, and in the very beginning, well, it has to be only black and white, can't have color, the letters have to be this size, the bags have to be all this, and it was never like, oh yeah, and you're not gonna, if it's not accessible, handicapped accessible, if it's grandfathered into your building, you're not going to be able to use that for dispensary. You know, we insist that you have access, and that wouldn't have been out of line to insist. I mean, on having
No,
access.
I think you're really saying something there, Jim, because think
I
about
mean,
it.
it should be in the regulations now, but it never was. And I
Nope.
sure left these.
It should be just like if you were going into a pharmacy.
Yeah.
It's the same concept. I mean, dispensaries have medicine in them.
So I'm probably
Also-
going to sound. I'm sorry. I'm probably going to sound very naive here, but it's kind of funny that I would assume if I were going to open up a dispensary, that provision would have been in there. I would have not thought twice that I would actually have to think of that myself.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it is supposed to be for patients. I mean,
Right.
yeah.
They want to make sure that you have a certain amount of parking and everything for accessibility.
Right.
But if you come with a wheelchair, we're gonna have to work something out. You don't worry, we can come out to you, curbside service, and it's sort of like, I think for a real lot of people, that's not fitting in. I mean, and I actually see it both ways, though. That, like, I understand grandfathered in, and things have to be. And Lefty, were you at the White Dog Cafe when Cheryl was there that time? Do you remember that? Were you there?
Yes. You had to carry her in up 4 steps.
Yeah, it was like a brownstone thing. Now, see, we didn't really mind doing that and having it been done because we were there to be a guest speaker, storyteller. Yeah. Thing, and it was a self-sustaining. They were run by. They were like green before green was green. They were just all about that. But yeah, I can see where for a lot of people, you wouldn't want that to be like 2 people on each side of your wheelchair up and in, and there's a bar area. You gotta, okay, can you stand up and move your stool this way, and get you all to get back in, but. I thought it was the best intro ever. Cheryl got it. It's like that was the point to get in under all these special circumstances with a smile to tell you what doesn't make you smile, and you got it.
But it's interesting at the same time that they did talk about when we were transitioning from the medical to the adult use market. I remember being on a couple panels and all that, and it was sort of what kind of things should we be looking out for? And part of it was carving out certain hours that were reserved, making sure that there was priority parking right up front, that medical patients could go to the front of the line as soon as they arrived. That if there were a certain number of people in the dispensary, if medical patients showed up, they could still go in. So it's interesting that they really did look at things that were supposed to help medical patients, but then sort of forgot one of the basic things like how to get in.
I was there
Well, here's one for you.
You can come in for 2 hours just for you, but you can't get in.
the first 2 hours.
I got one
were
for you.
patients.
There's tax breaks that people in wheelchairs can't access because in certain areas, dispensaries are opening up in urban enterprise zones. In urban enterprise zones, you get a 3.5% tax instead of a 7% tax or around that.
Yep.
And but if you can't get into that dispensary, you can't get the same tax breaks as able-bodied people. And people don't talk about that either because we're forgotten about.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'd never thought about that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I was able to straighten out Wikipedia, New Jersey's Wikipedia page, when it said that New Jersey doesn't tax medicine when they were taxing it. And it's amazing how quickly they changed that. I was shocked. I just sent them in, here's a link. They're charging sales tax on this because it's medicine. It's a medical marijuana program. It might have been the next day. I checked back about 5 days later and said they don't tax medicine except or medical marijuana or whatever it said. And I thought, take that, New Jersey. But the Treasury, the Department of Taxation didn't want it taxed, and there was a bill to get rid of the tax. They had an official opinion on that bill, and they supported the bill that would have gotten rid of the sales tax. They didn't want it, And there was that moment back in time where Senator Scutari was asked if this was to be taxable, and he said there's nothing in the law that prevents it. Was his answer? I mean, it's like opening the door, standing back and saying, "I didn't invite anybody," and the 2% that the dispensaries get if they choose, if the municipality gets. If you have a dispensary in a municipality, you can opt in for 2%. Goes to you, but that comes out on the patient's end. It's not magic money that the patients aren't paying for. I myself haven't been to a dispensary in a year and a half. I mean, I have, but I didn't buy anything. I met Lefty at one time, and we went in and said hi and didn't get anything. And it's not like I'm boycotting them. It's a matter of, I don't have like a job, and I don't have money, so I like to keep the price as low as I can. And but here the home grow effort is really because it should have been on so many levels. And one more thing. It's funny because sometimes people actually coming on the podcast get to learn about Lefty as much as we get to learn about you. But my experience with him back when this became legal for patients was to right in the beginning, the ignorance is no excuse tour. Nobody knew what the law was. Attorney General sent out everything to everybody, and it got used for whatever purpose. But it wasn't like they had meetings about it, and you got to know the law. So the first time went into a police station with him on a day when we were going to do a run, and it was hi, my name is Edward Grimes. I'm a registered New Jersey medical marijuana patient. I have my state sanctioned medicine right with me here now. I have my card, and I'm in pain, and I want to know where's the nearest place to here that I can go and use my medicine where you won't arrest me. And they'd be like, can
Let me make a phone call.
I need to make a phone call. And they would call the county prosecutor. Generally, they would go to him for guidance. But you would think it wouldn't take somebody like Lefty to do that job. And to me, the one that I didn't take part in, but it was in Trenton, and the I forget what her rank was, but the officer, a woman in charge of what was going on at that moment. I guess what was she didn't know it right off the top of her head, but she went and came back and says, I got 8 people out on the street right now, and none of them know this, you know. And it was sort of like she knew, but you could see the light going on in her head. It was like a thank you. It was like, holy crap, I never thought about it. You know,
Yeah.
so
Well, unfortunately, the answer would be somebody's private residence who told you could do it.
yeah, well,
Well, I got
Yeah,
really
unfortunately.
mad.
That's
I've
why we
been-
have the consumption lounges that are coming out, I think, to help give people a place to consume. But yeah,
yeah.
Rob, you're going to get the lefty questions.
In
Wait a minute.
2013, I got my medical cannabis card, but it cost me $1,600.
wow.
I had to go for 4 visits. I had to wait 1 year. So every 3 months, I would go back to the doctor. It was $400 a visit.
That's
Recertify. Yeah.
ridiculous.
$1,600 later, I get my cannabis card. I'm with Chuck Kwiatkowski at a Chris Christie town meeting, and we talk to a cop. I'm like, hey, let's go find out where we can smoke our weed, Chuck. So we go over to the cop and we say, hey, we have medical cannabis cards. We'd like to smoke our weed. He's like, no, if you pull out a joint, I'm going to arrest you. I'm like, what? So that's what made me want to go to the police stations at that point, because I'm like, I paid all this money, waited all this time, and you're still going to arrest me. So I'm going to go to the police stations. I'm taking the fight to them and saying, hey, well, here's my weed. I dumped my weed on the counter. I said, where do I smoke this? I bought this at a dispensary. Where do I go? And yeah, like Jim said, they would call everybody. They'd call the sergeant. They'd call the lieutenant. They'd call the captain. They'd call the chief. They'd call their wives. They called everybody. They didn't know who to call. They were like, we can, this guy can smoke weed in my police station. One guy was mad he couldn't arrest me. He was trying to get me on anything. He's like, he can drive out of here after he smokes that thing. And yeah, it was crazy. It was been a crazy couple of years.
That's insane. I can't believe you spent that much money. Wow.
Yeah, it's nuts, right?
Yeah.
That's what
It's
made
really
me mad.
nuts. You know, because I got my medical card when I lived in New York, and it was $300. That was it.
Well, I
And the
think-
only reason why I bothered was because I wanted to take patients through the process. You know, because everybody was nervous at first.
I think one of the most
that was it.
inhumane things that I heard was that terminal patients had to recertify.
Hmm.
Like, really, you need to make them go in and recertify in their
Doesn't
terminal?
that sum it up
Everybody
right
does.
there?
Because it's all
Yeah.
about the money.
Sum it up, yeah. Well, also that 15-month-old child had to be examined psychologically before being able to be a patient.
I wonder what that's like.
Yeah, well, I mean, but
I-
that child died at 15 months while waiting to be psychologically examined. 24-hour seizure.
Well,
Yeah, stuff like that though, that really brings it home. Oh, yeah, I thought of something earlier. I don't think it made my little note thing. Students were so involved all along getting things, not just students for sensible drug policy, just students have always had that interest. I mean, go figure, right? You would think. But now that it's just I just love what's going on at Stockton. I don't think this is not normal what's going on at Stockton. Is this going on all over and I never knew it? I mean, Stockton's kind of at the forefront, it seems.
we are the only one in the state of New Jersey to offer a 4-year degree in hemp and cannabis. So yes,
Yeah,
that
that's
part
what I
is very
thought.
that
Okay.
part's very unique. Hudson County Community College does offer an associate's, and we made a deal with them too. So if they get their associates, they can come to Stockton
So-
and finish their degree if they want in cannabis.
With all
But
these,
but across the country, there's about 30 different universities that have majors of some that are real curriculum, and they're either cultivation, which was they were the first ones, and then there were science, and then business now.
what
Yeah, because I run a cannabis curriculum convening. So for 4 years, I get cannabis professors from across the country to meet for 2 days via Zoom, and we talk about what we teach in class. So we have a medical cannabis panel, we have a social justice panel, we have one about hemp, we have one about a student panel. So that, and we get actually some pretty amazing profs. We've had people from UVA, Cornell, NYU, Wake Forest, Purdue, North Carolina State, Utah State, UConn, Rutgers. I mean, just a nice selection of people. There's about 50 professors that all contribute to that. So the nice part is I've gotten to see this kind of curriculum grow in different areas. So one year, all of a sudden, somebody will have a minor in this. There's even schools that have a focus on cannabis hospitality and tourism, which personally I think is very smart and such
That's
a great
that's
that's a
forward
great
thinking.
area that is so open. I mean, you could make a good run at so many things in that area. People like music, people like food, people like experiences.
Yeah,
You go for hotels, you go for massages, you need health information and health aids. So yeah, I love that part.
yeah, it's recreational. What about are there? It seems there should be some students if they knew the dire straits patients were in while either going broke and through financial ruin or deciding what you will give up to get your medicine or when to use it because you can't grow it. And well, I'll be in pain when the kids are at school because I don't want them to say I'll have some before they get back. You know, people living that freaking life. And like this fight's going on in New Jersey and they're in New Jersey, you know. If you ever run across somebody like that that's feeling bad, you know, there's always something that can be done. And maybe I would hope that something maybe simple. Somebody says, hey, do you ever try this? Or I have an idea. Maybe you guys should or whatever. You know, we're the kind of people that can put a good idea into action that maybe a student couldn't, you know, but we're up against a roadblock right now. And I know when I was a student, I'd want to help solve that puzzle somehow, you know.
Yeah, no, I love that idea. We actually also have a cannabis club on campus. So we have it's called Cannabis Ospreys, Creating Business Professionals.
Well, I'm
And-
not that
and-
far
and-
away from Stockton, you know.
And we do, yeah, but there's different things that we can do, and we do try to find causes. So the easy ones are we're pretty close to Atlantic City, so we'll do a food drive, we'll do a clothing drive, all that's good. But I would like to take it to the next level and find something that is different, meaningful,
Different, meaningful.
and the students can get behind. So I mean we're looking for the right cause for our club, no doubt about that.
Well, you know, we might have some sort of idea going on in the next year. We don't know where this is going to go. But I'd be sure to get in touch with you and say, hey, if you got anybody would have an interest in, and I don't mean like showing up and holding a sign or something. I mean, in something, I can real easy remember what it was like at that time in my life and how I would react to something. And I know something may be going on. And if it crosses my mind, I think, man, I wonder what Rob would think of this, you know. You're probably not real hard to get hold of.
No, I'm not. Robert.Mejia@stockton.edu.
Yeah. And because stuff is going to be going on this year. It's not going to, it's like 3 years, 8 months, and 1 day since this bill has not had a hearing. And like what I call it is censorship. You know, when I was a student, I hated censorship. I'm just saying these are certain things that keep people, and to stop something at the gate rather than let the gate open and see if the horse has legs or not, you know, it's sort of like a Senate president could stop a bill by just not allowing it to have a vote.
Yeah.
But that sounds bad. That would sound bad for that Senate president. What do you mean he didn't allow a vote? Okay, well, he's not allowing a hearing. That doesn't sound so bad, does it? It just doesn't sound that level of egregious and dangerous.
Yeah, plus you can also say there's other priorities too. Yeah, we didn't do that hearing because we need to look at property taxes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always the first.
Oh, no, yeah. Well,
that comes
it
up,
is all about, and I get it, and I don't begrudge the state trying to get a slice of any pie. I mean, I do get it. But I'm of the mind, and I'm not exactly all alone, but I think it is the drive to keep home grow from adults, because the money in the many ways that can get into the general state treasury from this probably is going to take a hit when adults can grow their own. I mean, it makes economic sense, you know, and it's certainly the reality. It's always the perceptions what sells an idea, not the reality anyway. And that'll be that. But when patients start getting their slice of the pie. All the arguments in this hearing that's being kept from happening, 3/4 of them apply to an adult hearing on adult home grow. And it'll become clear through the patient's efforts. Everybody should have that. But it's going to happen first one, then the other. And, you know, I mean, it's not a rule. I know that's how it's going to work.
Although, don't you find that people who home grow could also be your best customers in a dispensary, because those are people they care about variety. Plus, also, even though you can home grow, how many people are going to make their own edibles? And our edibles market's going to grow infused beverages, for example. How many people are going to do that? So if you have good quality, you have good service, you take care of people, you have variety, I think your home grow only supplements that, because you know what you need. But I think you're probably the best customer. And some dispensary owners I've talked to would love the chance of supporting that market and would do things like sell the seeds, sell the soil, sell the nutrients, do seminars on the weekend on how to home grow. I mean, why not? That's the way to bring in your community. Yeah, I teach you how to grow. You're going to trust me with other things. And when you need stuff that you're not growing yourself, you're going to come to me. I would be very confident doing that.
You'd have so many classes to give at Stockton in an environment like that. You could be like having a class of, here's the following the product, like what do you call it? Somebody that helps you grow. People can't grow what they like to smoke. They won't be able to grow that. It's just not going to be that way. I myself would grow to get a magic butter machine, make all the bomb. I'd be bathing in that shit. But when it comes to what I'm going to be inhaling, I'm probably going to just be buying somebody else's, because, you know, I could afford to do that, though, with a combination of both. So, you know, and yeah, I'm like actually one of those who just isn't growing it. Just go ahead and do it. No, my life couldn't handle that right now. I can barely handle it the way it is.
I mean, New Jersey could also take a look at Maine and some of the other states that take much better care of their medical patients, and set up the caregiver model where people who just like to grow will also grow for somebody else. It's almost like a buddy system in some way. So if I know somebody needs X particular strain and I'm a good grower, why not work with them, and I'll supply them what they need. I'll grow that stuff for them. And as a grower, you're just proud to grow the plant, and you appreciate the plant, and you're more than willing to share. I mean, sharing in community and caring really is part of, I think, the cannabis ethos. And I would just generally like to see more and more of that.
Yeah. Well, you know, then there is people who grow and can grow and are very good at it, would love to help somebody that needs it for a medicine. They would love to. And they would be available. It's like somebody like, a little FaceTime. Yeah, why don't you hold that up to the plant? Okay, what do you do? You know, and you could advise. They wouldn't be alone and hit or miss. And that's just, again, something else that, I mean, at Stockton, there's going to be new avenues of what students are going to want to know more about as all this opens up. And when you have one colossal industry that's underground all of a sudden being out in the opening with you know, it's not like you have to establish a brand for a product, this product cannabis. Oh, look, you know, you don't have to market it. It's been marketed forever. It's got its consumer base, and it's just a very strange emergence of a whole new industry, you know, more like a volcano than anything. And it just was always there. There it is. And yeah, but you know, and if you ever found somebody that wanted to hear more about home grow and what's going on, looking for advice, you know, I'm not that far from Stockton. I used to talk to kids all the time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Rob, I got a fun question for you. What is your favorite munchie food?
Here we go. Everybody gets the questions, Rob.
I love it. Well, I'm split. So the good, healthy Rob would probably say popcorn, because I feel like you can eat a decent amount of popcorn, and it's relatively satisfying. Although, if I really just had one choice, it would be ice cream.
Yeah, that sounds good. What kind of ice cream?
Ooh, I would hope that my freezer would be filled with many, many choices.
Baskin Robbins menu right there.
Peanut butter and chocolate would be up there. Something along the Reese's line would fit in
Yeah.
there. Or I also really like strawberry or brambleberry or whatever a seasonal fruit would be. Either of those things would speak to me in volumes.
Black cherry's mine. Yeah.
Oh, I
Ever
like
since
that.
I've been doing these questions, I've been eating Fruity Pebbles, which I haven't done in years. You guys got me on the munchies now, but there's an ice cream that got me going. I want to find it. It's in Wegmans, and somebody said their favorite ice cream is the creme brulee at Wegmans, and
Oh,
they said they buy all of them except for one to leave for some other guy person who wants one.
that sounds
Yeah.
pretty tasty. I'm
Yeah.
a Tillamook fan. They're an Oregon company, and they do a lot of local ingredients. That is some good ice cream.
Oh boy, it's like I'm stopping at the store.
So everybody gets 2 questions. That's one. I feel like he's going in reverse order tonight for some reason.
Oh,
What's up,
yeah.
man?
The first time you ever smoked cannabis, how old were you, and is there a story behind it?
Oh boy, there certainly is.
Oh wow!
So I'm some very quick background. So I'm one of 13 kids from Denver. When I grew up, we went to Catholic school. So I went to Catholic school grade 1 through 8, and then I went to Georgetown later on. I guess I could not get enough of it. But at any rate, when I was in 7th grade, I had a pack of friends, and a bunch of them actually started smoking cannabis at that point. And when I was in 7th grade, it was not for me. And I said, I don't know what you guys are doing. This is wrong. I don't want anything to do with it. So I basically ditched that group of friends, got some more friends, and that persisted through 8th grade. Then 8th grade, I graduated, went to my public middle school in 9th grade. In 9th grade, I once ditched school with my friend Casey, and we went out to go play tennis and smoke a joint. He had gotten a joint from his brother, and so we took a couple puffs. I felt nothing. We played some tennis. I got caught later on, so I was a very unsuccessful participant early on.
Come on!
And then I kind of took a break for a while, and then by sophomore year, I started in again. High school, junior year, definitely. Actually, it's funny if I find an old yearbook, one of my friends signed it something like El Pato Head or something like that. But anyway, I was like, yes, I guess I must have been a semi-regular user at that point. Didn't really use much in college, and then have come back to it with great devotion later in life. And it's actually kept me from aches and pains. I'm happy to say that I am pain-free. I sleep well. I am moving and grooving.
All right.
You have a healthy endocannabinoid system.
I do. It likes whatever I'm doing, and I'm trying to do the movement. I'm trying skin to skin contact. Trying to eat well, trying to sleep well, and trying to supplement with a little bit of the kind bud.
If you have a friend who's depressed or upset, what's something that you would tell them to cheer them up, or maybe a life lesson or a quote that has gotten you out of a rut at some point in your life?
Ooh, that's tough. That's tough for me. I think music has been a big part of my life, and even though I'm not a musician, although I have a son who's a brilliant musician, I've always enjoyed music, and it can definitely change my mood. So I find that if I'm really kind of struggling, I can go to my a few songs that really kind of speak to me, and sometimes I'll actually pick songs that might make me cry. I'll pick songs that might make me just kind of laugh, happy, silly, dance, whatever. But I would say music therapy, I would call it, is something that definitely helps me. And then also movement. Love to take long walks. That definitely helps too. I figure out a lot of things when I walk and when I shower, by the way.
I was going to say showering. My best thoughts in the shower.
Oh, come on! You must have heard me say that. I'm a first thing in the morning, tired, right into the shower. As soon as the water hits my head, I can solve the world's problems. It's like I almost need a pen and paper there. I have to find a way, and it's like always what's right in front of me. So. When I do, I hate it. When I'm tired enough, I get in and I don't bother to have the subject at hand before the water hits my head. Next thing you know, I'm thinking about how to get a good line of caulk down without getting it on the, it's something, and it's like I wasted it, But yeah,
That's
wow.
funny.
I mean, I'm just surprised because that is my all time. And plus, I do this a lot. I kind of rock a little bit, and then when I need to have an idea, I walk. There's something about motion. And then when I drive to Tom's River and back every Sunday, and a lot of times it's by myself, and I don't have a radio working in my car because I like it that way. I like the carnival in my head when I'm on the road. I want it's like me and me, and I'm working shit out on Route 70 all the time. And I have a little bit of bomb before I go in on my limits. I might activate it with one toke after, and then. I don't know. It's just, I think it is the motion, something about motion,
So the phrase "carnival in my head" might be
Oh,
one of the most lyrical lines I've heard in a while. I write a lot. I'm actually in the middle of a couple books and all that, but I
yeah.
like that line, Jim, and I may use that in something.
No, I do.
if
Well,
you-
yeah, people know, what that means,
I love it. It brings up such a good kind of happy image and so much movement, and yeah,
Yeah.
you're distracted by everything because it's carnival.
Yeah.
And you have a book coming out.
I do. I actually have so I have it's called Cannabis Careers: The Insider's Guide to a Budding Industry. That's coming out with
budding
Bloomsbury in April 2025. And then just last week, I'm getting a contract for the second edition of my Essential Cannabis book.
Good
so
for you.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'll have that one out as well, and that'll be my fifth book. So weirdly enough, the first book I ever wrote was a baby nickname book that I got Andrews McNeil to publish, and I turned that. I have a merchandising and trademark background, so I turned that into apparel, wallpaper, and furniture, and then
Wow.
and then from there, I wrote the Essential Cannabis book, Essential Cannabis Journal, and then Cannabis Careers, and now second edition of Essential Cannabis book. So that'll make 5. With the funniest one being a baby nickname book.
I might have read the baby name book.
Baby,
Well,
That's very cool.
Jim,
That is very
I have-
cool.
I have 6 sons, so I have a little experience in giving, and I'm one of 13. So I've been around a lot of babies.
Mhm.
wow.
What number are you in 13? Are you the middle or top
yeah,
or bottom?
I'm number 6. Yeah, there's
Number 6.
Oh,
5
you
boys,
were
8
a middle
girls.
child.
I'm number 6. Yeah,
How was that growing up? That's wild, man.
that was a carnival in our backyard. I mean, there were of course the typical things where things were a little tight. My dad was a high school teacher for 30-something years. My mom, and they were both first generation to get through college. My mom went halfway through and then started having a lot of babies, and then went back and got her degree and then got her master's. And she went to
Youngest to oldest.
teach at a community college. It's a 21-year gap for 13 kids. No
it's got to
no-
be. Jeez.
no twins, no triplets. So, I mean, we all took care of each other. We all pitched in. We also were very creative, so we made do with little. But one of my favorite things was we actually used to do Olympics in our backyard. So we would set up all these little obstacles and have all these events, and we had a trampoline, that kind of stuff. So we were an active,
Man.
creative, fun family. It was kind of it was messy but fun, and we were always taken care of.
Wow.
Oh, that's nice. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
really.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, a lot of fun, and we are a tennis family too. I know not the most popular sport, but man, Mejia's play tennis, and it is ingrained. Even now, I'm going tomorrow morning. So tomorrow morning at 8:30, I'll be on the court.
Nice.
Good.
Very nice.
Wow.
Well,
Very
Rob,
nice.
thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you joining us here today.
Oh, yeah, that's my
I'm just,
pleasure.
I know you. You've been. What was that, Jim?
I don't think anything.
Oh, okay. I thought I heard something.
Well, sometimes it gets
It's
out.
just
I
making
don't know.
noise.
Did my inside voice escape? In
Yeah,
some way?
it did.
Yes.
Little bit of the
It
carnival
was
came out, Jim.
stalking.
Oh, hey, listen. I am getting so good with my own little carnival of introspection that I don't like it because I figure things out. It wasn't what I was planning on doing, and I have this yin yang, this pole, but to be in the same house with me and have it be quiet, and then I don't want to. You talking to me? No. Nobody else here, and, oh,
Maybe you should switch from a carnival and have a committee instead. Have a committee in your head.
I do, but that's scary, you know.
That's too
I don't
scary.
want anyone, you know.
Sounds official.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
no, as long as I have, it's. I'm 72, and somehow, while I was 72, I realized, okay, I don't have a lot of years to get it right. What would it be right? I promised Kathy I was going to become mature when I was 60. Obviously, before I was 60, and I'm 72. That was like the stupidest promise I ever made in my life. You know, it's like, never mind what it's like. It's. But anyway, so I like that. And actually, Lefty's been helpful because he's always been more self-aware than me. And what we were talking about before is somebody can say something like, "Yeah, you're a real piece of shit," and he'll go, "Why would you say that?" Well, because you. Oh, did I say that really? Oh, I got to agree with you on this one. Then I didn't know that. Did I really? Are you sure? You know, and it's disarming. And of course, the example I like is when one of the podcasts, this guy came up on a bike pretty quick and came in hot. And I noticed he had a keypad bungee corded to his bike so he wouldn't have to carry it. I'm like, all right. And he came right up to the podcast and goes, "You called me a keypad warrior." I guess he called into a podcast, a Facebook thing. And I'm like, oh, good podcast coming up. What's going on here? You know, I mean, I'm looking at it like this, going, this could be cool.
That was a great move. That was funny.
But it was, you disarmed him immediately by just
He disarmed me.
you were both talking about you like you weren't there. It was like the weirdest thing I'd ever seen. You know, you were agreeing on you. You know, yeah, I sure am. You are.
Yeah, Lefty, he's a jerk. I know.
But then it was after that,
That
he
guy.
was like a great guest. He'd hang out. He was there a lot more in the future. And I learned from stuff like that, you know. It's like the one time that I actually wanted to channel Ron White for some reason. I was protesting at the Republican Ocean County headquarters on Route 37 only because the mayor of Medford was at a debate 6 days before the election, and he was asked about medical marijuana. And are you for it? He goes, well, no, I'm not for it. Now he had like 30 seconds, and he's no, I'm not for it, and it was dead air at a freaking debate. And I'm like, you weasel, you don't even know why you're against it. You're against it, but you don't know why. So I'm going down to the headquarters on election day, you know, signage, and my friend who's a burn victim and my very nervous better half, because she never seen how this works out, you know, because I got the right to do that, and I got the police called on me, and the police came and explained it to him, you know, and yeah, I stood there like this stuff, you know, and but I don't know why I said it, but it was probably leading towards, that was one of the best ways of going about it, because we were treated nice by everybody going in and out. And, you know, one guy everybody deferred to, I didn't recognize, came over and said, listen, you want some coffee or something? It's kind of cold out here today. Why are you here? You know? And what I had to tell him is, when you get new blood, you know, they think the Republican Party is against everything marijuana, including medical marijuana. But we're not. I go, yes, you might not be, but that's the expectancy of people coming in. You got to have some sort of orientation for new blood when they come in. Tell them this is your decision to make. You deal with this on your own. I'm asking you to do that, you know. And you know, I mean, of course, they're blowing some smoke in my butt, no doubt, but wow. Yeah, I'm missing something. I hear sometimes the things I say, and I hear it like it's somebody else, and I don't know what to think of me. I got to tell you. That was fun, though. Oh, yeah. Anyway, the guy came out to me after the police left, a 25-year-old guy that was their computer thing. This would have been 12, 14 years ago, something. And he got like right in my face. And I'm taller than him, so that doesn't work. But he got right in my face and he said, "You are so fucking pitiful. Why don't you get a fucking, you are so fucking pitiful. Why don't you get a job?" You know, and waited. He waited for a response, and all I could do was to look at him and say, "Well, that must be just like looking in a mirror for you." And waited for him because I wanted to, I grab him, and I learned something right then. It was much better. And this was before I was getting to know Lefty this well. We've known each other for a while. Yeah. Oh man, this has been a good night. I enjoyed this.
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty far-ranging conversation, but I liked it.
Yeah, it does. Like I say,
covered a lot.
we weave it all together. We go off in 9 different directions at once, and at the end we come together. I know a professor. He said he's never seen anything like it. I'm making them. Never mind. I don't talk politics.
So what is this question here? Why do they call me Lefty, they say? They want to know why they call me Lefty. Well, there is a story behind that. When I was younger, I used to jog through Hudson County Park in Bayonne, naked. And a rabid squirrel jumped on me and grabbed my right nut and ran away with it. So that's how I got my name Lefty. Thank you.
Such an ass. You're such an ass.
This is the guy that I've spent 12 years molding.
That's the best you could do.
Yeah, really.
I'll come up
Yeah,
with a
you
better
need
answer
something
tomorrow.
better. We'll come up with something better.
Yeah, really.
That's just on the fly. That's what I got.
That's the first time I've heard it. It gave me a chuckle. I don't know. I thought it was pretty good.
Oh,
I didn't see that coming.
I'll have something better for you by tomorrow.
All right.
I'll think about it in the
Yeah, we have a
shower.
list that we do. Rob, you want to stick around for our list? This is actually our list of people that are still waiting for medical cannabis. It's a sad list. Sometimes it's hurtful, mostly hurtful,
It's
hopeful.
People that died waiting for what never fully came to them.
How do you put this list together? And how many years back do you go?
This is going back from 2013 when we started doing the podcast at the State House, and it started with Cheryl Miller.
Okay.
And as people, 1 out of 10 patients die, and we don't get those numbers anymore from the CRC.
Well, that in the beginning, and it's really probably leveled off more, but I got it figured to 4 a day. There's every chance while we're having this podcast, somebody died, and maybe they couldn't afford it, could have used home. They didn't. They're being second-class patients, not just second-class citizens, second-class patients to prescription patients, and every step of the way. And the thing is, in the end of the podcast, we at least mention the names without. I mean, at the beginning, it was a name and a blurb, and then a name, and then because there was this many, and now it's just almost like reading off names of World Trade Center victims,
Wow.
and so. Without knowing who they are, often enough, Lefty will stop and, just say something about somebody in particular. But
well, we start
it
off
was
with
our
Cheryl's
job
on
to
the
make people feel like shit at the end because it's
That's
a serious
our job.
thing.
We want you to feel like crap, and sometimes we joke through the list at some points, but mostly it's to make you feel like shit, to bring it all home. And the reason why we're here, still fighting for home grow and for other patients' rights, and Cheryl Miller is on top of our list because of what she went through. She was an activist back when nobody else was doing this, and she inspired me to do what I do because I didn't know cannabis could help multiple sclerosis. Back then, I just thought cannabis gave you the munchies, and sure, it helped cancer patients because it gave you the munchies. And then I saw what Jim did with Cheryl and how she was her arms were stiff before her cannabis use. She couldn't move. And when Jim would give her the cannabis, she would loosen up. And she was able to exercise and move her arms. And I never saw that before. And I saw it from my own eyes. And I'm like, oh. And I knew the government lied to me. But now I really know the government lied to me. Like, it was like one of those moments for me. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And
But it was in the shortest version of having really no choice knowing this, but to take exactly what Lefty said and culminated with it's never been tested. It's never been tested. And that's what was no test to prove it. You can't prove it. It's never been tested. So we did a test in front of the State House where her hospital bed was set up. She's in a wheelchair, and when I lifted her, this is in 1997, like really dark ages for doing this. So when I lifted her up, she wanted to straighten out. I mean, my hands were this far apart, and she's basically, and arms drawing up, into a hospital bed. Holy shit! And the Star Ledger announced what we were going to do in their paper. So yeah, there was some news. There was like 3 TV cameras and some radio people, print stuff, and some state police, and they didn't stop the test. It was a tincture test. They waited an hour. She was a whole different person. I mean, I showed her what spasticity is. Laying down, watch if I move this hand, and the legs started going, and she had a tincture mixed in a little bit of Gatorade, drank that, opened up a fresh can of Coca-Cola so you could see it was unadulterated, and she would have nothing but that, and then she would be loose. And since this tonic spasticity is not of the cerebral cortex, much like when you chop a chicken's head off, it's not sending signals back to the body to run around. It's spasticity, So basically, spasticity doesn't give a shit if it's a placebo or not. It doesn't fool spasticity, I mean, so yeah. And then it went on from there. Of course, the police weren't going to arrest. They did everything they could to get rid of us, and after a while, and they just weren't going to arrest. They refused. So she found out how much power she had, and because it was so obvious, and people knew, it opened the door for all sorts of people. Yeah. So it's that she was kind of like patient number one, illegal as she was, because we started doing this. I walked across the state with her wheelchair, announcing this to Trenton from Seaside in 1993. But this list that follows, a lot of it was people that didn't see the law even get passed, and people that saw it get passed but they couldn't afford it, and people that went broke buying it, and marriages had problems because of it, and all sorts of stuff. And these people that are gone, it somehow feels better just mentioning their name after doing something. Yeah. I know it drains me, and you see me. I close my eyes. I feel like I'm just and it does me good in the end, though. And then he recites something from the Ode to Remembrance, written in honor of the fallen soldiers in World War I.
Well, we'll get to that. Get to that, but let's get to the list here.
Yeah,
the list goes on with Sabina Rose, and Sabina Rose was the 15-month-old baby that had a 25-hour seizure, and she spent a quarter of her life trying to get into a psychiatrist to find a psychiatrist who would see her. And I don't know what a psychiatrist would say to a baby that's 1 year old, or what the baby would say to the psychiatrist. I'd like to see that conversation. That was really crazy. I mean, this girl lost her life waiting for those 4 months for a doctor. Her card was in the mail. And her parents were in a horrible position, because what do? You give your kid cannabis illegally, and then what? The DIFAS comes, take your kid away, put your kid in a foster home where they may die, or it was a horrible position for the parents to be in. And she died 2 weeks before her card came in the mail, and it was just absolutely terrible. So her name is Sabina Rose. Diane Ripatella. She was at the State House many times. Gracie, Cindy May, these are children. Marie from Pennsylvania from cancer. Jack, Joan Ford, who wrote a book about epilepsy back in the 40s, growing up with epilepsy in the 40s, where I grew up in Catholic school too. And so did Joan Ford. And the Catholic nuns used to throw holy water on her when she'd have a seizure. They thought she was possessed by the devil. And the nuns would tell the kids to stay away from Joan. She shun her because she's possessed by the devil. So Joan had a tough upbringing there. And yeah, it's rough. Randy Robertson, they gave him the Whipple procedure before they gave him cannabis oil in Pennsylvania.
My father-in-law had Whipple. Whipple at age, he was close to 80, and he survived for another like 10 years.
10 years after the Whipple.
Yeah, was it 8 years? I'm sorry. Yeah, but still quite a
Wow.
long time, and especially for him to get through it. He was there with the 40-year-old. The 40-year-old did not make it.
Was he using any kind of cannabis with that as well, or no? No.
No, he was not.
Wow.
He was using a lot of gin and tonics.
Oh. Polly Connolly, Bill Buckman, Chad, Jeremy, Colette, Matt, Troy, Russ, Roger Barber. He was an attorney who fought for his daughter to be able to use cannabis in school administered by the nurses, because when her daughter had to use cannabis, they had to go 1,000 feet away from the school. And she had autism, so she was thinking she was going home, and then she'd go back to school, and she was all confused, and it was just not good for the child at all, and it was just a mess. And the stress from all that killed Roger. Jay Oleto, Ella Bagelman, Hattie Kosho was my grandma. I used to give her a lung test. When I would go visit her, I'd take a vape bag and fill it up with vape, and I would go drive to see her. I'm like, okay, Grandma, we're going to test your breathing today, because she was in a lot of pain. And she would take the bag, and she enjoyed the breathing test so much that every time I go there, she would ask me, where's the bag for the breathing test? So she knew what was going on. She knew what was up. Jackie Rickard, Anthony, Jake, Armando, Felicia. Armando had tailbone cancer. I've never heard of tailbone cancer in my life.
I haven't either.
Yeah, that was a new one on me. Lynn, Platshorn, Dan, Sean, Joyce, Lori, Frank, Brian, Flo, Carl, Thorne Peters, Frank and Lorraine, Terry, Charlotte Figgy. I'm sure you all know that name.
Yep.
Cher, Jaybird, Michael, Marley, Colette, Brendan, Red, Rico, Lulu, Becky, Lawanda, Chip, Paul, Lisa, Marcus, Gary Sage, who filmed a lot of Jim's activism back in the day, and Jeff Oakes. Jeff Oakes, he fought. He went to council meetings for years with us. They gave him 4 months to live, and he started using cannabis oil, and he lived for 4 years after the cannabis oil. And he would go to council meetings strapped with a chemo bag sometimes to his hip, and he would yell at these councils for taking away cannabis, because a lot of these towns would ban medical dispensaries, and you got sick people that need medical dispensaries, and you ban them, but yet you'll sell fentanyl in your town, you'll sell alcohol and tobacco in your town, but medical cannabis was not in my town. And we would fight that for years. We fought that, and Jeff was a big fighter for that, and he got a lot of towns to rescind their vote, to change their vote, because he'd pour his heart out as a stage 4 cancer sufferer. He would pour his heart out to these towns, and a lot of them would understand. Some of them would. Not Ocean County. Ocean County was rough. But that's our list, and yeah.
Yeah,
it's just
sobering. Yes.
4 years ago, Jeff died, just a little over. It doesn't seem that long ago. It seemed like way more recent. Jeff did get to have his question asked our governor Murphy at a town hall, where chief of staff, I guess it was, would get what you wanted on a 3x5 little file card, and she get him what it was out of those bunched it. And she actually helped Jeff write his question, because you'd fall into his orbit real quick being around Jeff. And it was the last question the governor had, and he had to read it himself. And it went something like, Jeff, and he said hi. And, oh no, cancer. Oh, so how is it that I can live in a state that in my condition will help me die, but will not help me live by growing a plant? and I don't want to answer this, or some lame reply. I mean, I've seen the video more than a few times. And
The crowd gasped. It was
he
gasping
never
in the
got-
crowd.
he never got an answer. It's a legitimate
Nope.
question, you know.
No, he pushed Jeff off to the Department of Health,
Mm.
and he never took Jeff under his wing, which he really should have. He could have gotten a lot of information from Jeff on what patients need, and maybe he could fight for home grow. Because I think if Governor Murphy wanted home grow, I think we'd have it.
Yeah, well, if Governor Murphy wanted home grow, he'd find another little Jake Honig to strap his cart to. When he heard from about Jake, somebody brought it to his attention directly. It was a done deal. He became the face of making improvements, and I applaud him for doing that. That is how it works, you know. But just that this was more of an after the fact thing too. It was an honor of Jake. You know, he had a chance to do something for Jeff right in front of Jeff, and he chose to ignore him after that. You know, I sound a little bitter. I'll take care of that. Don't you worry. Hey, thanks for good podcast, Lefty, and Rob. Thank you for being here. You know,
Yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you.
so I actually leave this podcast feeling a much higher degree of hope, because I'd forgotten about this flow of students that are going to become involved for good reasons, more
Amazing.
than not. And then, you know, hearing about it in real time about what's going on, you know, it's
You have a website?
It
Rob,
feels
you have a website?
I do. Ourcommunityharvest.com. So it's OURcommunityharvest.com. And that is my cannabis education company. So it has information for people who are new to cannabis. It has some cooking with cannabis info. There's actually even a dosing calculator on there for cooking with cannabis. My books are on there, consulting services, all that kind of good stuff's up there. So yeah, ourcommunityharvest.com is where you can also reach me if you don't reach me at Stockton.
All right. Good one.
Okay, good. That was great.
Thank you so
Thank
much, Rob. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm gonna head off now. I'm gonna go eat some tacos, I believe.
Yes.
Peace out.
We'll see you again. This isn't a one and done. You know, we'll need to have you back at some point.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of things happening, so I'm happy to talk about all
Yes,
kinds of things.
yeah.
But yes, there are so many developments going on. It's good. Oh, next time we should talk about Charles Barker leaving the commission and who's coming in, because I think that's going to be interesting, and the dynamics I think will change a bit, and I'd love to talk a little bit about that next time.
See how that shakes out, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
All right.
he was one of the few that that advocated for disabled vets having Zoom access and wheelchair access to the dispensary. So hopefully his next person will have that same energy.
Yeah, I certainly hope so.
Yeah, me too. But do I sound expectant?
All right.
Thanks,
Well,
Rob.
good night, everybody. Thank you again.
Night. Thank you so much, Rob.
Hashtag they shall grow. Hashtag Jeff's Law. They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.